What's good, everybody? What's going on, man? It's Stephen Qualls II, aka Mr. Qualified. It's your boy, and we're back for another episode of the Wright Quality Podcast. Once again, friends, Miguel was served another suspension. As y'all can probably see, or as y'all will see from the last episode, he went off the rails again. Made some comments that got flagged by our superiors. So he has to sit one out. But no, we will see Miguel back in the next episode. But it is just me and my lovely co-host today. For y'all that, for whatever reason, do not know or remember who she is, please introduce yourself.
Ashley Wright the first. And if you didn't remember, that means you have amnesia, so go get checked out.
Indeed. Fact. Take care of yourself. But a loaded docket for today. Once again, it's about that time. This is an amazing time for sports fans. In MLB playoffs, W finals is coming up. In the swing of the NFL season, NBA season is about to start. So if you're a sports fan, you take your pick. Take your pick. But we will start with the W. With this season of the W, so crazy, so jam-packed. A lot of great things, but also a lot of things that we are choosing to discuss because it's an important conversation for a league that's looking at how it's going to continue to grow. I hate to make it seem like it's centered around this one athlete because I don't think it personally is. Speaking about Caitlin Clark, I think that sometimes she kind of becomes the scapegoat. However, I think it's been well documented how her coming to the league has introduced the league itself to a completely new audience, how it's allowed the league to do a lot of things that it maybe wasn't doing before. But within that, I think that the treatment that WNBA players have been receiving for some time, let's be clear, has just been elevated, heightened, and just seen and spoken about more in the media as of this season. Ashley, thoughts on not so much the season itself, but really what we've heard about the treatment of WNBA players and more so how that's connected to the Caitlin Clark emergence and her coming into the WNBA.
Like we've had this conversation off air before, and you made a really, really good point. This was happening while Caitlin was in college. Like we kind of saw the divide and where people was trying to take her rivalry with Angel Reese. It wasn't about what was happening on the court. It became civil almost, so it just seems like that trend unfortunately has followed Caitlin to the WNBA. And I don't want to say that it's Caitlin's fault because it's not. However, I think her denouncing it would be, step one, or would, lessen, I guess, the tensions between her and certain teams or certain players, people that have called her out or Fever fans out for condoning it in a sense, or not even condoning it, but just not saying, hey, we're against this. There's no place for it. But you made a really good point. You said that the W should have had these stipulations in place prior to her arrival even in the W because they saw what was going on. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, but I do think that they're taking the necessary steps. At least the WNBPA. I love how they've called out certain journalists for trying to bait players into saying certain things. Obviously, they're taking a stand. I do love that the W has put out statements, countless statements even, against this topic. And I do believe that with a little patience for Caitlin Clark, it will get better. Maybe she's someone that didn't have to experience a lot of what her fellow WNBA players are experiencing. And that's not to her detriment, but it's just something that she has to become educated about. And I don't see her allowing her ignorance per se to go on much longer because her counterparts aren't allowing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to necessarily assume that she is currently ignorant. I'm not super familiar with her upbringing and background, but I would like to think, and you can call this an assumption, but she's been in the spotlight long enough to have a clue about what the media may be trying to shape in terms of a narrative. Now, that doesn't mean that she necessarily has had to play into it or that she fully understands the opposite side of that narrative, but I don't think that she's, completely clueless. But I do think that that she will continue to, if nothing else, educate herself on how to just be an advocate and not play into what naturally will happen, where you'll have media, and I think the worst part is it's the fans. And it could be this wave of new fans that are solely there for her. It could be the fact that inevitably part of her fan base is a fan base that is deeply rooted in race. I mean, people are going to want to make it seem like that's not the case, but it is. I mean, even when you look at the fact that in this, every time this comes up, I find it so interesting. The Angel Reese case is even more interesting to me because what's weird is I don't think that Angel Reese is necessarily supported. I won't say she's not supported by our community, but sadly enough, it's a lot of males. And let me be very clear about this. There are a lot of males that do come strictly from a basketball perspective and say, hey, there are some glaring things in her game that she can work on that would make her just a better player to watch, look at, whatever the case may be, which some people may say is common for the majority of WNBA players, which, I mean, is what makes Caitlin so polarizing as it is. But I think all of those things makes it extremely difficult, because even if that's how you feel about Angel Reese, you have an Aja Wilson who has a game that easily that easily translates, that is fun to watch, if you will, but we still aren't having the same conversations. And I don't know if Aja specifically received any treatment, but we've just seen a lot of players get treatment as a result of being in opposition to Caitlin, just simply by being on the opposing team. And that's not fair to Caitlin. That's obviously not fair to the other players, but I think it just accentuates that divide that we already said that we were not only seeing kind of happen with Caitlin before she got to the league, but also a divide that was somewhat already present in the league, just from a talent level and a talent standpoint, let alone how well documented it's been with what the WNBA doesn't get in terms of, team support and team amenities and things of that nature, and how Caitlin coming almost single-handedly elevated, a lot of that. It already puts a target on her back in that regard. And I don't know, it's tough. It's something that I hope doesn't become the narrative of the W in general, because I do think we'll start to continue to see an influx of talent come in, and I think the league will continue to develop and grow. But I think with that, the league is also going to have to prepare for, we're getting a new fan base. Like, these discussions, whether it's race related, whatever the case may be, they've been happening in the NBA for a long time. But now that more of that audience is coming to the W, I think the W as a league needs to prepare its players in whatever way possible that they can, and prepare themselves from a branding and marketing standpoint, and just community guideline standpoint, for that natural just influx of an audience, because you're going to want those fans, you're going to want the money and the revenue they're going to generate, but you're going to have to control that, because the players' mental health, most importantly, is something that is going to be at stake even more as time goes on. So.
Yeah, that's true. And last thing, I will say, I don't think the players will shy away from the issue at hand, because they haven't from anything else before. We saw them in the bubble, after the shooting in Wisconsin happened. Like, their players are very vocal about things off the court. So, like I said earlier, they won't allow this narrative to continue much longer. They want to see the game progress, and they're very proactive in terms of it doing that. So I hate to say I'm excited to see where the game goes, because this is a negative situation, but I am excited to see like how these women, step up and truly push the game forward, because I do believe something beautiful can come from this.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree. No, I absolutely agree. And I think the W is going great places. So that for me is not, the concern, but again, it will be interesting. And I'm excited. I don't think excited is the wrong word. I'm excited to see where the league goes and how their game continues to grow as well. So yeah, exciting things on the way for the W. We shall shift to collegiate discussion for a little bit. Mainly want to talk about NIL. I know in a couple episodes back we talked more specifically about NIL from the standpoint of the quarterback from UNLV. But
Hmm.
it was interesting. I was watching a clip from Cam Newton, and this was post the whole interaction with Shadur and Travis Hunter and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Now, I don't remember Cam's exact comments that made Shadur feel away, but Cam was just speaking to the conversation that they had. And essentially, what he was summarizing was this idea that, like, the college athlete is different now. And with NIL, they really are no longer amateurs. Like, as a college athlete, you are considered a professional, and that comes with a completely different weight to carry and a completely different responsibility, because you're also now not as protected by being an amateur. So things you
Mhm.
say, things you do, because you are earning this revenue, that makes you a bit more susceptible to things. Like, you're already, as an athlete, in the eye of the media. So that's one thing. But now that you are making this money, it ain't like, oh, you in college, you're not making no money, and that kind of gets you a pass with certain things. And I'm not saying that Shadur did anything in particular, but just using him as an example, you playing the game and you're rolling,
Yeah.
you playing the game, throwing your watch up, you know what I mean, whatever. If you playing bad, doing all that, that's gonna look away. Even if you playing good, like, there's a different level to the type of eyes that are on you now. But
Mhm.
with that being said, how do you feel like college athletes are adapting to NIL and how that has changed the landscape from the standpoint of how they're even being perceived as athletes now? Because, like I said, they're professionals essentially at this point.
Yeah, they are professionals. They just wear a college uniform. Like, to me, they have to be a lot more conscious about, and not that they haven't before, but they have to be a lot more conscious about what they do, because not only are you representing your school, but you're representing these corporations that are putting money into you. And so, just like a professional, like, if you're wearing a shirt that represents the company you work for, Steve, you can't be outside doing everything you want to do. You're gonna get fired, right? So it's like you have to remember that you're representing yourself, which is now a brand, and you're also representing the brands that pour into you. So I do feel like that's sort of the difference in terms of how athletes have to carry themselves that are in college. But then also, okay, so it comes from this standpoint too. You know how there's certain things that maybe colleges have to do for media day. So
Mhm.
certain phrases that colleges want you to say, I know from personal firsthand experience that these players are hesitant to say certain things or do certain things because they feel like they could get paid for it. So you want me to say Happy Independence Day? Pay me for it. That sort of thing. So they're also it's loose lines in terms of what they can get paid for and what they don't get paid for, and what can you do versus what can't you do. But I like that they're taking that conservative approach to how they're conveying themselves to the media, what they're doing on the field, because at the end of the day, those are the practices that you're going to have when you do get to the NFL. You do have to carry yourself in a certain way. So I think that's the benefit of NIL. It definitely is, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. I still think that NIL is more beneficial. And I think one of the biggest benefits is now, while you are in college, especially those players that are staying in college longer. So this might be more for the football players than it may be for the basketball players, but at least in terms of some of the top stars. But you are getting firsthand experience on how to deal with what is inevitably coming in the pros. Whereas before, you weren't necessarily getting the experience, at least not legally. You weren't getting the
Yeah.
experience in dealing with handling, money, handling these sponsorship, handling these different type of commitments. But now that's almost, it's incorporated into the college model now with NIL. But how many athletes do you feel like are genuinely learning how to be good businessmen? Or are athletes just or businesswomen? Or are athletes just concerned with getting the money right now? And is there even a thought about or a realization that this is training for the next level? Do you feel like that's how athletes are looking at it, or are we still just in the era of, oh, we actually can get all this money now?
Yeah, no, I think so. Athletes such as Angel Reese, I'll use her for an example. A lot of people were questioning whether or not she should go to the league because of the pay.
Mm.
And she said, and I'm loosely quoting, but she was basically saying that my NIL deals are going to follow me to the league, so I'm not worried about money. So I do feel like athletes do look ahead, at least those that know I'm going to be a professional in said sport.
Mm.
And so it helps, like I said, to train and maybe get that experience in college as a collegiate player on how to maneuver, how to speak with your agent, things that you should do, things that you shouldn't do. And I know that these players also have PR training. If you're hiring an agent, I think that's part of their job is to make sure you're likable not only to the public, but also how to navigate the media, how to react to certain situations that you face when you're in competition. So I do think that they look ahead and maybe they do plan for um, the pro level while in college, earning NIL.
Yeah, that's very real. And if you're a top athlete collegiately, I feel like that should be expected. Like that should be a
Mhm.
given, that should be a part of what you are preparing for. Like you said, if you either know or truly have the aspirations and have a path set to become a professional in said sport. With NIL, I feel for coaches. I feel for coaches in
Yeah.
NIL. They definitely have taken the biggest hit and are probably stressed the most. But and and coaches already are in a tough spot. Like they're already the ones that catch the blame. They're already the one that lose their job first. So NIL doesn't help in regards to not having control of those athletes anymore. But I'd be lying if, I didn't feel like this benefiting the athletes in this way is the most important aspect of this entire shift in the landscape. So yeah. I mean, that's just what that is. But NIL as well will be interesting to see how that continues to evolve as time goes on, as there's just more money out there for those athletes, and yeah, it'll be fun to see for sure.
Mhm.
Something else that has shifted as we shift back to the professional leagues. I did not realize this or understand that it was being called this until I saw it in an article one day. But I did not realize we were in the super team era. Like obviously I know super teams exist, but I didn't know we were calling this the super team era. Is this the new NBA? Will we ever phase out of this era where people are teaming up like stars are teaming up? Or is that too much of a slippery slope to call it that or define it as such?
I don't think this era will ever end. I don't. Because you have players wanting to play maybe with people that they played with in college or people that they grew up playing AAU with, like superstars, who become friends in the league. Maybe they got drafted together and they want to play together. So I think without doing something that Boston did, which is draft your superstars,
Mm.
outside of that, I don't feel like this era will ever end because now players have the leverage. And again, this is LeBron James's fault.
This is all LeBron's fault. I think it's easy and very accurate to put the blame on him. No, but is that a bad thing for the league?
I don't because it makes it enticing, like and I wouldn't even call this the super team era. I wouldn't. I think that super team era left when KD left Golden State. Like point out another super team.
That's fair.
I think this is the era of duos. This is the dynamic duo era. It's not a super team era. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like this is great for the league because, it's more enticing. Like when that cat trade happened, we can't wait to watch the Knicks now. Like, what is this going to look like? And I know that's pretty much the same thing with all big trades, but it's like these big trades are now pairing superstars with other stars. So not only is Cat in New York, but Jalen Brunson is coming off a monstrous season. That's juicy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's more accurate to say that the super team era was was that 2010 to when did KD leave? So the 2010s, essentially, because KD
Yep.
left in 19. I think you could say that decade was more so the super team era. And I guess in a way that helps define it because I think super team is when you have three.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
super team is when you have three bona fide stars. And I know
Yeah.
people, we make the jokes all the time about Bosh in Miami, but if you don't know about Toronto, Chris Bosh, then I don't know what to tell you. Go do your
Yeah.
research, check your references, last pod titles if y'all been peeping. But nonetheless, yeah, like he's a star. Same way when it was Steph, Clay, and KD, three stars. I think Phoenix is a little bit different because in no way, shape, or form am I taking away from Bradley Beal being a superstar, but it don't feel the same. Phoenix doesn't feel like a super team. And I don't know if that's just because maybe they never gelled and like found it, but I don't know. It just doesn't give the same feeling. And I agree. I don't think it's bad for the league. I also think that you are just seeing more talent
Mhm.
in, and like you said, we also aren't there's a lot more players that are growing into superstars, right? We don't have too many players that are coming in as bona fide superstars, or I don't even think that it's the idea that so many superstars genuinely want to play like with another bona fide superstar. There aren't too many situations where like, oh, Bron said, I want to go play with Dwayne Wade, who
Yeah.
has a chip and is on his way to being a top five shooting guard. Oh, and Chris Bosh, who
Mhm.
is one of the top five power forwards in the league. This ain't KD saying, I'm going to go to a team with the greatest shooter of all time at this point. We pretty much already understood that the greatest shooting backcourt of all time, that conversation was already happening on top of a team that was 73-9, right?
Exactly.
So we don't have decisions like that being made anymore. So I could see how more so those decisions and the way those teams were constructed, defining the super team era. And I think the influx of talent going back to that is the main reason that it makes it exciting because also now you look at a player like SGA. I don't think anybody projected SGA to be a superstar, not in the way that
Mhm.
he is. I don't think anybody expected him to blossom the way that he did. Brunson's a similar case. I don't think anybody expected Brunson to have that monster year. Now, granted, you could look at both of them and say, well, with these expectations, are they gonna, match it or are they gonna, meet those expectations this year or was it a fluke? But I think you're just seeing a lot of players where once they get a trust in that coach or once the organization realizes like, no, this is a player we can get behind because they embody, our organization or they embody like what the coach wants. You see a lot of players be able to become studs, but also at the same time, how many players got buried and we didn't get a chance to see them become stars because they were just in the wrong situation.
Yep.
So one way where you could look at it as, man, maybe super teams ruined everything. I also think what happened is now you had teams who had no choice but to, okay, let's put these players out there and see what they got. And from that, oh, we got a diamond here that we
Mhm.
maybe wouldn't have known about if we were trying to go get this player or we were busy trying to do XYZ. So I think all in all, full circle, it's been great for the league because it's allowed room for more players to become stars. And I think that with that, that's how we start to see more duos. But I also think that goes to the parity that we've seen across the league as well, because now you got more stars. And the one thing I will give this young generation, they don't they don't care. Okay, these young dudes, the YNs, as I
The
like
Lions, yeah.
YNs, the YNs of the NBA, they don't care. They want to get the old heads out the way. They want to do it with them and they homies, like not, oh, bring me another star. Look, me, the dude that got drafted after me, that's been here
Mhm.
3, 4 years. The dude that was getting benched over there, but he coming over here and he buying in. Give me them, right? And let's go to work. And I think that that's a part of what has made the NBA interesting as well. So all in all, a lot of words, but I agree.
Yeah, no, I got something to say about that. I think it is so unfair for Minnesota to have AE, Rob Dillingham, and then Terrence Shannon.
It's gonna be fun.
That's going to be nasty. I give them this season. Jail, see what you need to do. By next season, like 25, 26,
Man,
that's gonna be crazy.
It's going to be fun to watch. And I think with Minnesota specifically, I think the evolution of Ant will tell us everything, obviously. But if Ant continues to take the leaps, I think he can account for Rob's adjustment because
Yeah.
obviously he'll have to adjust.
Yep.
But if Rob adjusts quicker than people expect, even better. And I keep saying this. I was saying this on the episode with Miguel when we talked about it. A lot of people have jumped off the Julius Randle, hype train.
Yeah.
Not one sitting here necessarily saying that he should be getting roses he ain't earned yet necessarily. But what I am
Mhm.
saying is whether he was in New York or whether it's in Minnesota, he was gonna have to decide what type of player he wanted to be, and he was gonna have to decide how bad does he want to win and what does he have to do to win. I don't think that he had horrible relationships in New York per se, but I think if he's looking at the season that Anthony Edwards had,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
what else you gonna do, bro? We gonna sit here and cry about touches, or we trying to win? What you want to do?
Hmm.
But also depends how AE commands that team as well. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'd agree. I don't necessarily want to see. I don't want to see this era end, even if it's not the super team era.
Yeah.
I hope the league continues to go in this direction. I hope the parity continues, and I hope to see this changing of the guard where, okay, you got the OGs who are pretty much solidified and don't need to do much anymore. That's the LeBrons, the Stephs, the KDs, all of that. Then you got that middle of the pack like the Giannis's, the Jokic, the Embiids, where it's like they've proven enough. They're essentially solidified, but they can really make their claim. They still got some years to do that. But then you got
Hmm.
the young guns like the Lucas, like the AEs, the Brunsons, the Halliburton evens, Paolo when he gets there. Like these players, like, nah, I think it's my time. I want to see if we can go on a little run. So I think that in and of itself, as a result of the super team era, has put the league in a really, really good place, all things considered. Okay, so to wrap up the episode, we have three lists that we have to do, right? The first list, relatively easy. We're gonna ease into this list portion.
Yeah.
I need five untradeable players in the NBA. And by that, I mean players that teams are either completely unwilling to trade or they would not trade ever except for the player requesting it or extremely dire circumstances.
Okay. Ooh, are we in order? Because this is,
I mean, you can say your five, and then if
yeah.
you want to put it in order, we can.
Yeah. Let's say my five. Luca,
Mm-hmm.
Shea,
Mm.
Jason Tatum,
Mm-hmm.
Bron,
Mm-hmm.
and Jokic.
Yeah.
I didn't poop. That's my phone vibrating.
All right. Um, so I have Luca, Steph, Giannis, Wemby,
Ooh.
and Bron.
Ooh.
So I don't know if you can say that that a player is more untradeable. I don't know how you even measure that for real. I think all the players that have been named are untradeable in that regard. But yeah, I don't even know if you can try to make an undoubted top five, even without.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you can do that. I'm not even sure you can.
Yeah, I think the names that we mentioned are solidified,
I'd agree.
like you said, unless it's dire. I feel like anybody's on the block if it's enticing enough. You know what I mean? But everybody has a price. Everybody has a price.
Yeah, I think those are the guys with the highest asking price. To be completely honest though, is it crazy to think that Wemby might have the highest asking price?
It's not. The potential is crazy. Like,
I
He's
think
what, 7'4"? And does what he's 7'4", dribbles like Kyrie, shoots the ball amazingly well. It's just a lot going on in Wemby. Like,
I think what's wild is how much we have not seen yet.
yeah.
I think that's the thing, and I think that that's what will make the asking price so high is because the asking price will be high for any of the guys we named, right?
Hmm.
But if you were singing right now, the asking price for Wemby would be crazy because of what you would be willing to do to set your franchise up with that type of talent. Like, and that is how crazy it is going to get in the league. Just wait. Like, not only is Wemby going to develop, but wait till he genuinely gets some talent around him. And that's no knock to some of the studs that San Antonio got. But wait till it clicks for Wemby.
Yep.
Like, wait till Wemby gets it and Wemby decides, you know what? I want to be great.
Yeah.
I want to be the greatest.
That's all it takes.
Wait till he decides that, and he has the players around him to have the things happen for that to happen. I saw a clip earlier today where somebody said Wemby is going to surpass everybody. He's going to surpass Bron. He's going to surpass the Magics and the Shaqs and the Larrys and everybody on the list. So much will have to go right, and so much will have to happen, as is the case with Bron. But who's to say that it can't? I mean, there's so much that he's going to do on his own that will already kind of make him legendary.
Yeah.
But if some things go in his favor and he's able to get some meaningful hardware, yikes.
Hmm.
Yikes. Look out.
He's already so smooth and he's huge.
Yeah.
He's huge. His game will only get better. I hope that he stays healthy. I really do. Because if he stays healthy, it's no denying that he's only going to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the more he learns the game, the more, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's gonna get scary really
Mm.
quickly. The league ain't got that much time. Tell you right. League ain't got that much time. The next list, top 10 duos.
Let
And
me
then,
see for this one. Oh, let me get my notebook out.
because listen, all right. I, okay. We're gonna go from 10. We're gonna go from 10 to 1.
Yeah.
I don't want to go first though. So who you got at 10?
Okay. I do have an honorable mention, and
Yes.
that's Shay and Jalen Williams. Because I didn't know if that was a duo. It just doesn't give duo vibes
It
for
doesn't.
me.
Yeah, it doesn't give duo vibes because they're such a team over there. But as two talents and as probably the number one and number two option on that team, undoubtedly, almost if you ask me. Let's just call it that for the sake of the honorable mention. Another honorable mention as well. I still consider Fox and Sabonis honorable mention. I don't know if they
Okay.
crack the top 10, but I'll give them honorable mention.
Okay. That's actually my number 10.
Nice, nice,
Yeah.
interest. That's intriguing.
Hmm.
I have Jimmy and Bam at 10.
Okay. Okay. Why?
I think that at their best, at their healthiest, they still complement each other very well, and they
Hmm.
still can take and have taken the Miami Heat very far. Now, granted, a lot of that also still has to do with team construction and things of that nature, but them as a duo, I feel like they've proven themselves since their pairing. They usually both have good statistical individual seasons for the most part. I know Bam has pretty much gotten better every single season. Jimmy always depends on whether he's healthy or not, but we all know the legend of playoff Jimmy. So I think when you think of them two together and how they usually come together to get wins and scrape wins at that, I think that's enough to put them in the top 10, even if it is at 10.
Okay, yeah, yeah. The exact reasons that you named is why I have Fox and Sabonis at 10. I just feel like they haven't done a lot to be higher than 10. but we have seen flashes, and what they're capable of is enough for them to crack my list.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm not
Did
mad at
that did that sound right? Crack my
it.
list.
Yes.
Okay.
Who do you have at 9?
Embiid and Maxey.
Ooh, that's low.
This is a great regular season duo, but like
You're making great points. I mean,
it's not giving.
Maxi shows some playoff flashes. I think that was also Maxi's first playoff in that role, and obviously carrying more of a load because Embiid wasn't 100%, which is
Mhm.
why I think this year will be even more interesting, and why I also think that Maxi will kind of take those keys, because I just don't see a reason why you would stunt the growth that we saw last year. Like, we all saw flashes and saw that, like, oh, if Harden leaves, like, Maxi should have the keys. And when he had the keys, he did great and he took a major leap. So I don't see why you stunt that when you have two players who are looking to preserve themselves for the playoffs anyway, first and foremost. But secondly, why not let this young bull go do what he do and me just step in and handle my job? Why not give him the keys to go do that? That's why the pairing should be deadly in the way that most of us see it. That's low, but I understand your reasoning. I understand your. I can't argue with that, so I feel that. I have Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland at 9.
Okay. Okay. They didn't make my list, but I do like the pairing. I really do.
That's fair. I can see why they wouldn't make a list. I can see that. I could
Yeah.
easily see somebody, if you were going to consider SGA and J Dub a duo, I could easily
Mhm.
see somebody taking them over them. And if they were billed or dubbed as a duo, they easily would. I could easily see somebody taking Fox and Sabonis over them as well. So
Yeah.
I think, as far as like that 10 and 9, I feel like with those honorable mentions, those could all really be interchangeable,
They
depending
really can.
on
Yeah.
what you think is most important or what you think is priority. So
Yeah, that comes down to preference for sure. I don't think it's a wrong answer in the three duos that we made or the spots that you would put them in.
yeah,
I think what's hindering them from being all of them from being higher is just accomplishments.
valid, valid, very real. You got an 8.
Let me see. Okay. All right. It's a duo we haven't seen yet, but on paper, they should do big things. But because we haven't seen them, I have them at 8. It's Jalen and Kat. I'm excited to see this
Damn.
duo. I think you same? Dope. Okay, cool. So I'm pretty sure our reasonings are the same too. We haven't seen them yet, but on paper, like they should be pretty phenomenal. And the Knicks should be contenders this year.
Listen, if we had seen it, or if it's what we think it can be, they'd be higher.
Oh yeah. Oh
They'd be
yeah.
higher.
Yes. Yes.
So it's hard, like you said, on paper alone, they're top 10. Just what you've seen them both do, but they complement each other.
Hmm.
Like a pick and pop with Brunson and Cat, it's tough. I gonna lie. I gonna lie. That's tough. And obviously, we saw a lot of, a decent amount of pick and roll with Ant, and Cat. But I think the way that can be manipulated now, Brunson's already so tough, off pick. So when you have a stretch, four like that, or when you also have that four rolling now. But if Cat also plays a stretch five role, then that kind of becomes even more dangerous for that New York offense.
It
But
does.
yeah, them at 8 before even seeing them together is very telling. So it should be an interesting season for the Knicks for sure.
Hmm.
All right.
Okay. Let's see. At 7, I got Jimmy and Bam. That's where I put Jimmy and Bam.
Okay. Fair enough. I have Bron and AD at 7.
Okay. Yeah. Is it because of kind of the underwhelming season that they had last season?
The underwhelming season and the simple fact that I just genuinely think we have not seen the pinnacle of them as a duo. Now
I
that
agree.
that may partially be because of either one, well, both of their health. Like, we haven't, outside of the bubble, we haven't got to see a lot of them together. And we see flashes, but is it fair to say that they should be more dominant?
It is fair because I even feel like in the bubble, it still didn't feel like okay, this is everything we needed to see out of these two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, I feel like since that trade happened, I still haven't gotten what I want. And I want dominance. Like there has been no dominance. It's always been questions surrounding them. Like, when is AD gonna show up? What LeBron are we getting? Like, I want it to be consistent. I want to know, like, when teams go against the Lakers, they are scared. Nobody fears the Lakers, and that's what they're missing. So I like that. That's a good explanation there.
Yeah, for sure. And it's crazy because AD had one of his best years in recent seasons last year. I think we all can recognize that. And
Mhm.
obviously Bron is getting older, but Bron still can play at an extremely high level. So I still think that I'm not expecting them to be running people off the court, but I am expecting to see a dominance from the standpoint of, even if, we play half court ball, there's no way with Bron, on ball and AD in the post. There's no way, whether we go post, whether we go pick and roll, pick and pop, like they should have whatever option they want, theoretically, in my
Yeah.
mind. That's how I see them as a duo based on their skill set. And I just feel like
Mhm.
we haven't seen that to its fullest potential. So that's why they at 7. But yeah.
Mm.
Who you do? I have Maxey and Embiid at 6.
Okay, wait. I should have put numbers next to these. Oh, wait. Okay, so we're at 6. I got Luca. No, I got Hallie. I got Hallie and Pascal at 6.
Interesting.
Hallie and Pascal.
Wow. Hallie and Pascal didn't make my list, but they're honorable. There's an honorable mention for sure. They're definitely
Okay, so they're there because the season that they had,
fair.
and then I think with time, it's scarier.
It can be. I'm excited to see them this season.
Yep.
Glad to see them this season. They got a full off season. They're returning most of their team. They're still very young. I mean, we saw last year that they had all the pieces, and that was without Mathurin even playing, right?
Hmm.
So we saw Neesmith emerge, but you got you got two of the same player in him and Mathurin almost.
You do.
So really interesting team with that duo leading them. Pascal's been there. He's seen the promised land. So they should be in that 10. They should be in my 10. If I was gonna remove somebody, uh I'd probably be removing Mitchell and Garland if I had to substitute.
Okay. Okay.
But I'll leave, since I didn't have them on there originally, I'll leave them as an honorable mention. But they are top 10 worthy for sure.
I got you.
All right, top 5.
Top 5 is getting juicy.
Got it 5.
Okay. Number 5, I got Giannis and Dame. And
Okay.
they're 5 because of the same reasons that we had for AD and Bron. Now I know it's only been one season with Giannis and Dame, but still I feel like in that one season it could have been a lot better than what we got. So this season I'm looking for more, but I feel like it would have been disrespectful not to have them as a top 5 duo.
Very true. My bias will come into play. It's not super crazy. It's not super crazy,
Yeah.
but they are not 5 for me. They are higher.
Mhm.
But at 5, I have Book and KD at 5.
Okay. You know what? They didn't make my list.
Oh wow.
That's yeah. Yeah. Ooh. Ooh, I said I would be mad at myself because of this. Okay. I don't even know if I would want to take them out for anybody, honestly, though. Like,
That'll be interesting to see as we get to the end of the list. It'll be interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I have Book and KD at 5. I think my top 4 might piss some people off, but this partially with my bias included. But I have my reasoning. Who do you have at 4?
4, I have Luca and Kyrie.
I have Jokic and Murray at 4.
Okay.
Mainly because of Jamal, though. This is Jamal's fault. This is Jamal's fault that they're this low. But and more so off of it's last season and how it ended. More so. Let me be very clear about that. At their best, are they a top 2 duo? Sure, they've proven that. They got a ring in the last 2 years. So I could see if somebody says that. But for me, because I feel like them being a duo is mostly carried by Jokic, this is no disrespect to Jamal Murray. I,
Oh,
I like Murray a lot as a player. I am not taking away anything from Murray. He has had moments where he's shown up. He has also had moments where he seemingly disappeared for whatever reason, one reason or another. But I think them as a duo is largely on the back of Jokic. And I think that Murray excels a lot because of how Jokic plays. That's not a knock on him. That's just how the duo is constructed and how their play styles match. Nonetheless, they 4 for me.
okay. Okay. I that ooh. I want to combat them being a duo mostly because of Jokic, but it's like you're not wrong. But it's like the flashes we get from Jamal
Mm-hmm.
are all time. Like, I forget what game it was when he came down forced overtime.
Mm-hmm.
Then in overtime, he hit the game winner. I forget it, but I do believe it was on,
I think
was it the playoffs?
it was the playoffs. That game 1 or game 2 against the Lakers, he hit the
The
game.
Lakers. It was game one against the Lakers. Yeah, tough. Like, and we see it often. But like you said, it's not enough. So I will, that is justified. I want to back him up though, so bad. I really do.
Wait, so are Jokic and Murray your 3 or are they in your top 2?
They in my top two.
That's fair. I
They're in
have
my top.
I have Dame and Giannis at 3.
Okay. Okay.
Who's your 3?
That's a good question because now I'm mixed up. Let me see. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh, I only had 9. I meant to slide KD and Book in there.
Okay.
So they didn't miss my list. We'll just say that they're 10. So at 3, that means if I slide people up, that means Giannis and Dame are 3.
Okay.
That means they're 3. So they're not 4, they're 3.
Wait, no, when that oh no, you had them at I thought you had Giannis and Dame at 5.
5 is Tyrese and Hallie.
Oh, wait, when everybody moved up, that's
Yeah.
okay.
My 4 would be Luca and Kyrie.
Got you.
My 3 would be Giannis and Dame.
Okay. So I have Luka and Kyrie as my 2.
Oh, juicy.
Now, this might be last season bias, right? Very much so.
Okay.
They were one of the last 2 duos standing.
They were.
Um, I think if both healthy, I think it's hard to deny them as a top 3 duo, in my opinion, based off what we've seen. Will it look better and a little bit more polished this year? Potentially. What they have learned from their postseason run last season is yet to be seen. But I think it's hard to argue them being one of the deadliest. I think
Oh,
a,
yeah.
I think a lot, but I think a lot of what makes them dangerous as a duo will depend on what type of point guard Luka wants to be.
Is it on Luca?
I think it is. I won't say it's on one player more than the other, but because it is Luka's team, and because Luka even still is the more ball dominant out the 2, I
Mm-hmm.
think it would be more so up to Luka to find a balance than it would be Kyrie. Luka's also the better facilitator anyway.
He is, yeah.
So when I say find a balance, it's like, okay, Luka, we know you can get 30. That ain't the problem. But can you make sure that
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie gets his 20? Can you
Okay.
make sure of it? And not just make sure of it like, oh, Kyrie gets his 20 when I'm out the game, or Kyrie
Yeah.
gets his 20 because we ISO'd him and I stand in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
Is that part of the offense where in the flow of things, this is what like you making sure Kyrie getting at least 10 points off of you. 5 of your assists
Now,
is going to Kyrie. That's a bit high. I ain't saying literally, but
no.
at that balance.
How much is that on Kyrie, though? I will be honest. This finals was the first time I called Kyrie trash. I don't know what game it was, He went like 0 for 10 from the field. So
Yeah.
it wasn't not him not getting looks, it was him not capitalizing on the looks that he got. So like how much of that is really on Luka? Because we've seen it from Kyrie before where, okay, you're getting great looks. It's not on the shot selection at all. It's not on your teammates setting you up. You're just trash tonight. So it's like
It's,
uh,
I agree. Kyrie does have to be more consistent. I would not say that this gives him an excuse, but I am interested to see if he better adjusts to playing with Luka. Because we
yeah,
traded the season before, they didn't get a lot of games together. So last season was they full first season together, but even then, especially early on, they didn't get a lot of time together. So I wonder if having a season under their belt and seeing the flashes of what worked really well, is Kyrie now in the mindset of how do I adjust to playing with a Luka the same way Kyrie had to adjust to playing with a Bron? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, so now that you are willingly kind of deferring, understanding this is Luka's team, understanding that you are playing second fiddle to him respectfully. Like, yes, Luka looks up to you, but also how are you adjusting to, the man who running the show? So I completely agree. I'm not I cannot argue Kyrie's shortcomings being glaring, especially late in the postseason. So extremely interesting. JT and JB, best duo.
yep. That's what I got. Oh, I don't know if I shared number two. I do have Jokic and Murray at number two,
Right.
but yeah, Jason and JB at number one.
Yeah. Hard to say the champs aren't the best duo in the league. It's just really hard.
Now, who's the number one out of the duo?
We not going. Yeah, y'all not gonna get us enough Tatum clickbait. We ain't gonna even do that to y'all.
Yeah.
But actually, we got one more list we got to get to people.
You know what? It's juicy, but I think the people gonna feel me on this one. I really do.
I'm standing on mine regardless. I stand on my duo list. I'm standing on this list too. Argue me with you. Argue me if you want in the comments though. Like, subscribe, all that. If this clip make it to social media, comment, like, share. But the list that we are doing to wrap up this episode: top 10 players going into the 2024-2025 NBA season. We going 10. We going 10 to 1. Who you got at 10?
All right. Let me say my honorable mention so they don't chop my head off. I got Bron at honorable mention.
Got
We
to.
talked about it off air. He's
Pay my
not
dues.
bad. He's
Look,
not bad.
I'm paying my dues, Brian. Look, we ain't forget about you, big dog. We ain't.
Yes.
You still him. You still Himothy. It's okay. This ain't got nothing to do with you being Himothy, big dog. That ain't
Not
it.
personal. Not personal. This is going into the 2025 season. His 22nd to be exact. He's just not where he used to be.
Hey,
He's
man.
not. Don't blame him. But at number 10, I got his running mate, Anthony Davis.
That's crazy. So do I.
Bet.
Why? What was your why AD at 10?
Dominance or lack thereof, because ain't none. Ain't none. I don't know what AD I'm gonna get when I watch TNT. I don't know what AD I'm gonna get when it's on ESPN.
But I'm saying he made the list though. So I'm saying even in making the list, what put him at 10 for you?
Because he still averaged what? 24 points per game. Yeah. He still averaged 12 rebounds. That's a double-double.
Coming off his best season.
That's a double-double.
To assume he's going to continue that production. I would hope so.
I just hate that this was his best season.
Yeah.
I feel like it should be more. Like, I want people to tremor when they step across AD.
Off talent alone, he should be higher.
Yes.
Off talent alone, off skill alone, he really should be higher. But here we are. So, but he did make the 10. Can't be mad. We respect you, big dog. Now you just got to show up.
Yeah.
Not street clothes. Number 9 for you.
Number 9, Steph. For much of the same reason LeBron missed the list is why Steph is so low for me. It's just a new time. Also, I considered the team and his impact on them winning or lack thereof. Steph gonna get his. but it just wasn't there, you know.
So let's just throw the old guard in honorable mentions. Steph ain't on my list. He in honorable mentions. KP ain't on my list either. He in
Oh,
honorable mentions.
true.
This has nothing to do with their goated status. All three of them. This has nothing to do. But none of them are the players that they were 5 years ago, and definitely beyond that. We are in a new NBA. Just giving that clarification. Don't fight me, fight your mom. But who I have
Period.
at number 9 is Victor Wembanyama.
You know what? Wemby didn't make my list. But if I were to take somebody off, it is Steph. It is.
Victor is at 9. As we talked about earlier in the episode, I he had the rookie season he had where he didn't even play all the games, playing on a team that was still trying to figure out how do we even like make this gel with this person who's like he's easy to play with, but also it's like we already not getting talked about. So I'm still trying to get mine and make sure I get my payday. But
Mhm.
I think that now they got that out the way, especially with CP there. Wemby, I think it's hard to argue Wemby not being a top 10 player in the league. So
Mhm.
he's 9 for me.
I feel that. I feel that. But at 8,
Hey.
I got Brunson at 8.
Who's your 7?
Tatum.
Oh, this is getting interesting. Okay. I have Anthony Edwards at 8,
Well, okay.
but Brunson is at 7, which is why I asked. Because then
Okay.
it's like they're like interchangeable for me at 7.
Yeah.
I feel like they're on the same type of rise, the same level right now. I feel like we're kind of looking at them in the same light of their ability to lead a team and take that even next step than they did from last year. But you have 8, you have Anthony Edwards higher. I can see that now. I'm going to assume.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Fair enough.
He's undoubtedly the reason that the Wolves had so much success, in my opinion. I
Agreed.
feel like he was
Agreed.
the engine.
Agreed. Absolutely.
I'm not saying that Brunson wasn't, but when it comes to Tatum, this is why he's higher than even Tatum for me.
That's interesting because I have Tatum at 6. So I have Tatum, Brunson, Anthony Edwards. And like I
Okay.
said, Brunson and Edwards are interchangeable. And I'm not necessarily saying that they are at the level of Tatum per se. But with what you said, the engine aspect, how important they are to their team, it's a reason they right there. Okay. You got at 5.
I got five. Injury only. That's why he's
Embiid,
so low. Yeah.
same.
Before that injury, he probably would have been 2 or 1 for me because what was he averaging? 35?
Year he was having was insane.
Ooh, he would have
And
been MVP again.
yeah, and it's hard because we don't really know where he is now coming into the season, which is, partially, where he's at. But yeah, 5. Gotta be 5. But yeah,
Yeah, for
5
sure.
for me as well. We got at 4.
Giannis.
This makes sense.
I got Giannis at 4.
I think
Only
I'm
because he was dominant as he always is. It was just an underwhelming season for them as a whole, for me.
very real. I think I know the rest of your list as well, because I'm pretty sure we have the same 4 players. Because I have SGA at 4.
Okay.
Then I have Giannis at 3.
Okay, we swapped those two. I
Yes.
got SGA at 3.
Are our number 2 and our number 1 the same?
I'm pretty sure.
2 is Luka, 1 is Jokic.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Jokic and Luka, they really just sitting at the top right now.
hmm
Know what you're getting from both of them all season. They consistent throughout the season. For Luka, outside of injury, I mean, you pretty much know what you're getting. He could be a walking triple double if he really wants to. Jokic
Yep.
is a walking triple double for the most part. So it's really hard. It's really hard to argue them. Giannis is going to always be somewhere between 1 and 4, mainly because production is going to be crazy. It just depends on how you're impacted by the season as a fan,
Mhm.
in my opinion. SGA rose in the ranks, but again, that not only does let me not undermine the season he had and the leaps he's been taking, but again, that 5 can be really interchangeable because if Embiid is healthy, let's look a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Potentially. But yeah, I think it's interesting that Tatum Well, I'm not surprised that Tatum's right on the cusp of that five for the majority of people, right? Like, I think this past season didn't help his campaign of being top five, even though he easily has top five skill and talent, in the league. But perception does play a role. I mean, and even when you look at the facts, you mix those two things together. He in the mix, he there, but he got to declare himself to be Himothy. You know what I'm saying? But
So you know what? If we have to question who's number one in Boston, why isn't Jaylen Brown a top 10 player?
so that's an interesting thing, right? And I think about that a lot. But I think for a lot of people, I don't think it's a question, right? I don't think it's a matter of who is the number one in Boston. I just think that you have a hell of a number two, um, who could be your number one. But I still think it's clear that Tatum is. That's not to take anything away from what Jaylen Brown showed this postseason. That's not anything to take away from the fact that Jaylen Brown could easily be a number one on any other team that don't got these players on it, essentially, and the old guard that we talked about. But I don't know. I don't think a lot of people are asking that question though. I don't think for too many people they're confused about who the number one is in Boston.
Okay, okay.
From
Because
Yeah, from the NBA talk that I hear.
do we show Tatum love? And I'm just playing devil's advocate at this point. Do we show him love based on
Do we show him love based on?
potential or what we've seen from him already?
I think it's a mix of both because
Okay.
we've seen Tatum's greatness. We've seen it. We've seen him grow. We've seen him grow through some things, but we've seen his greatness. And because we've seen his greatness, I think a lot of us are like, bro, you got to cement this, not so much by ring, but by, bro, you got to be there and be there for some time. Be there for 3, 4, 5 years where you don't come down from that level of play. And we haven't
Yeah.
that stretch yet. And the hard part is we more than likely won't, given how the Boston Celtics are constructed, right?
Mhm.
That doesn't take away from what we know Tatum can do. So that's what's tough, right? We can't put him in a situation and say, hey, man, go out here with no help in this worst team and go average 35 so we can say, you whatever or put you in whatever place, right? Like that's just not his story. So I think it's a mix of both. I think there is an aspect of what we know he can be and what we want him to be that keeps us coming back to he's the number one. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like we ain't seen the greatness and we ain't seen who he is and who we want him to be full time, versus part time. So, so yeah, mix of both.
Yeah, I
50,
feel that.
both of them, both of them.
Both of them.
But yeah, no, jam packed episode, man. I feel like we talked about a lot. If
We
you
did.
ain't, between the earlier topics, between the super team era, between our list, we want to see y'all list too. I don't want to hear nobody talking smack, talking nothing. Drop your
That
list.
didn't submit a list. If you didn't submit a list, don't talk about mine.
You hear me? That's what I'm saying. So drop your list, then we can talk. Then we can actually go back and forth, see where we was coming from, all of that. But nonetheless, we missed Miguel's unhingedness.
I did actually.
We didn't have some of the unnecessary commentary that is so necessary, But but he will be back very soon. But we still gave y'all a lot to go off of and a lot to pay attention to. So yeah, that's all we got for y'all. Until then, until next time, much more for y'all in store. Peace.